You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Welcome into the Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network. EJ Hradek here, and it is my honor to be joined today by Steve Simmons of the Toronto Sun, who has been writing and covering sports not only in Toronto but around the world for a long time now. I'm not even going to say how many years because I've been kicking at this for a while. Steve's been doing it, I think, a little longer. Steve, the first time that I think that I crossed paths with you was in Chicago at the All-Star game in '91, where everybody remembers the famous national anthem. The U.S. was getting involved in that first conflict with Iraq. And I was out, let's say we were all out maybe late. We might have been out late. And I can remember one of our colleagues, Edmonton writer Dick Chuby, might have been overserved. And I can remember you and a couple of guys helping Mr. Chuby out of establishment in Chicago. I have no idea if you have any recollection of that, but I remember it well.
I have recollection of helping Mr. Chuby out of many circumstances over the years. Maybe the most famous one was the night he went on his birthday to Shirley MacLaine in Manhattan during the Stanley Cup Finals when the island was.
I've heard this story, but I'm
not telling it. But I'm just saying it's too good. It's not appropriate for all audience.
Yes, it's probably not. It's probably not. Needless to say, I guess he enjoyed the show. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it was
until he had one or two too many.
Too many, which can happen to anyone.
Yes,
really, when you think about it. But anyway, thanks for taking some time today to join me, and I really always enjoy chatting with you. And let's face it, we're here. We're coming up on the American Thanksgiving. And that's always been a talk of where you are on American Thanksgiving. You know, if you're in the playoffs, you'll be in. If you're not, you won't be. I don't know if it's quite as hard and fast these days with the league being so tight. But the Leafs are not in the place you want to be. They are dead last in the Eastern Conference, last in the Atlantic Division. Now that the league is tight, you win 3 in a row, maybe you're right in the playoffs again. But as we sit here, Steve, on American Thanksgiving, how do you assess these first 20 or so games for the Leafs?
I would start with the word disastrous. Where they expected to be, what they thought they were, what they really truly believed coming out of last season, 100 and some points, and going 7 games with the Florida Panthers, and they thought add a little here, add a little there. Yeah, they were losing Mitch Marner. That was a big thing. But what's happened this season really doesn't have a whole lot to do with Mitch Marner. It has a lot to do with just a disconnect between players, coaches, management, health. You can put if you're graphing this, you have lines going in all directions because there's all kinds of problems and all kinds of things happening that nobody anticipated, and so there they are, absolutely last in the Eastern Conference. And the difficulty, as you well know, is it's not just you have to win games. Is that the 7 teams ahead of you or the 8 teams ahead of you to the playoff spot, they all have to lose the same night you win.
Yeah.
And so, you can't jump that many teams. And I calculated yesterday that they have to basically, I think they have 60 games left, and they have to win 37 to get in the playoffs. And, this is right now it's basically a 500, a little bit below 500 team. How are you going to be 14 games over 500 the rest of the way?
And they've got a ton of games on the road the rest of the way, which they haven't.
They have the hardest schedule in the NHL because they've had the easiest schedule for the first 22.
Yeah.
And they really haven't taken advantage of it in a variety of ways. And in fairness, they have been so injured in so many different places that it's really affected, putting lineups out there.
Yeah, that's the thing, I guess. I mean, I didn't love the start. They had a little bit of a run where they seemed to be doing okay, and then the injuries started happening. And Matthews is out, Nyes is out, Tanev is out. The goaltending has been a jumble. Neither guy has been there at the same time. I mean, this is the thing, Steve. We've both covered sports for a long time. We've covered this league for a long time, and we've seen this movie before where sometimes you end up in this season, for the lack of a better term, the season in hell, where just everything goes poorly for you, even, that and some things that are out of your control. Like last year, I thought a lot of things went right for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This year, right off the start, Tanev gets hurt two different ways. He's been out. Matthews out. Nye's out. The Joe Wall not being part of the team early. Stolar's struggled. The team struggled. I mean, just it seems like anything that could go wrong in these first 20-plus games has gone wrong.
And as you say, we've seen this before. And I've had this conversation already, in different ways with Craig Berube and with General Manager Brad Treliving. And, you've been around long enough. You can see when a team is going off the rails. You can watch it as it's happening. And if you've been around long enough, you can see that this is a team. This is normally when the coach gets fired, or this is normally when this happens. And the Leafs have been through all of that so far. And you can start with day one where they thought they had a goaltending tandem. And they were really happy to have two guys. And goaltending tandems are more the norm right now than they've been in many years. And so they really liked their goalies. Well, one of them disappeared for reasons that we still aren't certain about. And Anthony Stolar started very well, but I think he played too much.
Yeah.
Or played too much compared to what he's used to playing, or maybe he just went through a bad way. So suddenly he's not playing well. The guys they've brought up from the one guy they brought up from the AHL is really not ready to play in the NHL.
No.
And when Joseph Wall comes back, all of a sudden Stolarz is hurt and they don't know when or for how long. And Wall's playing every game. And it's like, none of this is how it was intended.
Yeah.
And so you start with that. That's really important to me. What's more important, and I think this is the one thing that gets underrated in everything, is Chris Tanev.
Yeah.
Chris Tanev is one of those players, if you don't watch him every night, you don't appreciate the quality of work he brings. And he's one of these guys that just makes teams better. And so what he did last year, playing with Jake McCabe, is he gave the Leafs, for the first time in this entire Austin Matthews era, a first pair of defense that could play against anybody. And they could match against your best line on any night. And Tanev, because he's so smart of a player, he made McCabe better. And so what happens? He goes out. McCabe gets exposed for being the partner. Yeah. He's not the one guy of a pair. He's the two guy. Well, there is no one guy to play with him. So he's got to be the one guy. So now Brandon Carlo, who was supposed to play with Morgan Riley and help Morgan Riley, who doesn't, play in his own zone very, very well, he's gone. So now your first and your third defensemen probably are gone. And now you keep moving people up into places that they're not ready for. They don't have a first pairing now. They don't really have a second pairing of any quality. In fact, you can look at the 6 players the Leafs are playing on defense right now, which includes, waiver pickup Troy Stetcher and minor leaguer Dakota Mermis. Yep. And you're talking about, probably one of the weakest defenses in the NHL. In an NHL that's never been faster.
Yeah.
The league's never been faster. The Leafs defense has probably never been slower. It's not a real good combination. And it comes down to two things. Really, it's not just your ability to play in your own end. It's that first pass out of your zone. Who's going to make it? Who is it going to? How is it getting there? Well, Matthews isn't there. And Nyes isn't there. And so, aside from John Tavares, who's having a spectacular season, by the way, nobody has really been great. Nylander's been good, but he's not been great. And so you're looking around saying, well, who's going to help you here? Well, nobody's helping because the defense can't get the puck to the forwards.
Yeah.
The forwards are now caught. Now the team's caught standing around, which is the worst thing. And whenever you see a team that there's too much separation between where the defense is playing and where the forwards are playing, and there's all that, whenever you see a team like that, they're messed up.
Yeah. The gap, they say the gap control is not good. Steve, let me ask you this. I'll give you this proposition. Maybe last year was the very best year or the very best chance the Leafs were going to have because they still had Marner. And I want to zero in on that defense too. This is not a young group of defensemen. And, there was no guarantee. I mean, in Tanev, let's face it, Steve, the guy has been hurt throughout his career at different points because of the way he plays. So he's a guy that is fragile and is shown to be fragile this year. You've got, Riley's not getting any younger. OEL's not getting any younger. McCabe's not getting any younger. This is an older group of defensemen by most standards when you look around the league. And as I've given it thought this year through the first couple of months, because watching last year, I was so impressed with the way they played and Craig Berube and managing you guys up there in the media and the whole circus in Toronto. I thought it was really, everything went right. And they got within one game of beating the team that went on to win the championship for the second consecutive year, right? So maybe we just didn't realize at the time that was going to be their best chance. Marner leaves. They've made these changes. I thought, I was among those who thought that if they could get to the playoffs, the guys they brought in could help them be a tougher out. The problem with it is they're not going to make the playoffs right now the way things look. And so all that kind of goes out the window. But let me ask you, that group of defensemen, was it a fool's errand to think that they could be good again as each one of them moves through their mid-30s?
Only again, health. And Tanev,
Yeah.
as you say, has been hurt over the years.
Yeah.
Has missed a number of games. But boy, did he play great. Like, I thought he was the MVP of the team last year.
Yeah.
And when you're playing on a team with Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Tavares, and you're the MVP, that tells you how.
Yeah, and listen, I'm with you. I like Tanev too as a player. I'm a big fan of his. But again, the problem is he's 35 now. These guys, and you said it, the league has never been faster. It's I look at those guys and I'm like, boy, where's the younger players in that group? They're depending on those older guys. They're just it's a lot to ask.
The headline, I think, in today's paper was something about being old, slow, and too big, too old, too slow.
Yeah.
And that's what they are right now. Brad Treliving loves big defensemen. He loves 6'4" huge guys. And he wants those kind of big guys playing in the back end, and he really comes to appreciate it. So here we are, and it's almost December. The Leafs' best defenseman this year has been Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who was the sixth defenseman on the Stanley Cup winner with the Florida Panthers just 2 years ago. Yeah. So he's not supposed to be their best defenseman, but the rest of the defensemen have been so lousy that's where he now fits in. One of the problems the Leafs have, and you really see it against what I'll call scooter teams.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those teams in the NHL now. Yeah. They play like the Montreal Canadiens and the Detroit Red Wings. They're fast up front.
Yeah.
And they use the entire width of the ice. And they're into that vertical passing game. And so they're moving the puck from one side of the boards to the other side of the boards, and then usually there's a defenseman or somebody up high in the top of the triangle, and they just move the puck. The Leafs are lost playing against those teams.
Yeah.
They're not fast enough to get to where they need to be. They're not positionally accurate enough to be where they need to be, and they're sticks. And I love when coaches use this because I watched enough of Joel Quenneville's Stanley Cup teams to understand what a good stick means. Your stick in the lane. Duncan Keith just went in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if anybody was ever better at that. Passing, blocking, cross ice passes.
Yeah.
They're not able to do that. And so they're now playing these teams. Saturday night was almost like, was like when you used to watch the old timers game and they were playing, the old timers were playing against a real NHL team.
Yeah.
And that's what they look like, the old timers.
Yeah.
And it's hard to look right now and say, they've got a lot of injuries, in fairness. Tanev's going to come back, I think, somewhere along the way. Matthews will be back relatively soon. Nyes is out. And I want to touch on Nicholas Roy in a minute. But you can't have a defense that can't function while you're trying to work around all these guys being hurt at the same time.
Yeah.
there's just too many problems on the list right now.
Yeah. It's funny, Steve, because if you look at the standings this morning, the Tampa Bay Lightning are leading the Atlantic Division. Now, I don't know if you've got to look at their injury list, but it is significant. I mean, Hedman is out, and that's just the start of it. And they've got guys on their team that literally I have no idea who they are. And yet they have been winning and playing well after a poor start to the season when they had more of the guys healthy. And I go back to this, like for Tampa, it's coaching and culture there. They've built that over a long period of time. The Toronto Maple Leafs, I think Brad Treliving and Craig Berube, they were trying to kind of install that, and it's been derailed by the injuries. But I just think those are good examples. I mean, again, look at the Lightning lineup. They are missing really big pieces, and they're still finding ways to win games. So I think that's another problem here for the Leafs is like the culture it wasn't really built under Sheldon Keefe. And I don't think Craig Berube has had probably quite enough time to really cement that. And so when things start to shift again within your group, you can't find ways to win.
I remember talking to Nick Foligno when he came to the Maple Leafs at the trade deadline a few years ago, and he was just astounded by what he saw in Toronto. Not in a bad way, but in a kind of mesmerized way. How many coaches they had, how many instructors they had, how many different people looking at every aspect of their game and their health, and people cooking for them and people doing this for them. They've been the most spoiled team and organization for years. And you go back, Brendan Shanahan came in and he changed a lot of things when he took over as president. The one thing he did, though, in my opinion, incorrectly, was he really used every dollar he had to bring more people in to do more things, to have more opinions, to have more analytics, to have more of everything that anyone else has. I remember one time one of the NHL general managers was talking to me in the press box, and he said, we have like a 7-man front office, and the Leafs have like 50.
Yeah.
And we're 2 points ahead of them.
Yeah.
And people around the league would kind of giggle about this. But I think what happened is players get coddled, and it becomes comfortable. It becomes a really nice place to be and play, unless you're Mitch Marner, who soured on everything.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's a pretty friendly, happy place to play, and you're treated like spectacularly well. And so what Treliving, I think, has tried to change as he's come in here is he's tried to sort of toughen it up a bit. And Berube's tried to toughen it up a bit. And I think they made some strides last year in doing so. And everything has fallen, to a level this year that they just didn't see. And one of the things that, when you play a team and you can't beat them, the tendency is we have to find a way to beat them if we want to move on in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so their belief was that third line of the Florida Panthers, Anton Lundell with Luosterainen and Brad Marchand, was a third line unlike anyone else in the NHL.
Yeah.
And you go back to those Tampa championships, and you have Yanni Gourde and those Goudreau and those guys in that third line. And they were spectacular for 16, 17 minutes a night. They didn't have to score. They just, were tough to play against. So the Leafs went out and they got Nick Roy out of Vegas, and everybody spoke so highly about this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I made a lot of phone calls on him, and everybody that I spoke to that coached him or had coached him or been with him or played with him, nothing but great things. You're going to love him. He's going to center the third line. He's going to give them the kind of third line they need, an identity line, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So they bring in Dakota Joshua from the Vancouver Canucks, and they thought, okay, we'll put these two guys, maybe with Bobby McMann, who's got a lot of speed, and you'll have that third line with lots of, stuff.
Well, a little jump.
Roy has been invisible. Dakota Joshua has been invisible. Bobby McMahon's been kind of in and out and all over the place, depending on what line he's on. But that third line that they thought they were getting, the guy I heard about from all my Vegas friends, I haven't seen him yet. I don't know, maybe he just doesn't fit this team or whatever. He's not here. Joshua would be a healthy scratch if you had your whole team
Yeah,
going
yeah,
right now. He's just
yeah.
given nothing.
And
And
Michele hasn't done much either. He was
oh,
another one of the.
and in fairness, he's a cast off. So what were you really expecting from him?
Yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
that was a
I agree.
hope. That was a
Yeah,
hope deal more
yeah.
than anything. The other two, I think, had some substance to it.
Yeah,
You know,
Steve, I would agree with you on Nick Waugh, and I'm a Nick Waugh fan. I watched what he did in Vegas. I'm watching these guys all the national end of it all the time. I'm a Nick Waugh fan, and to your point, maybe he just needs more time. Maybe it hasn't worked. Dakota Joshua, I think, has a defined role that he should be doing there, and he doesn't seem to want to do it. So, I mean, I don't know if he's not going to do those things. I don't know where he fits within their group.
Roth right now reminds me of a poor man's Brian Boyle. And
Yeah,
I always thought he was better than that. I always thought
yeah,
that. And what one person in Vegas told me, a guy I really respect, he said,
hmm
what we loved about Nick is if we needed him on the third line, he played the third
yep,
line. If we moved him
yep,
up to the second line for a game, he did the job there. If we needed him
yep,
on the second power play, he worked out there. If we needed him to kill penalties, he did that. He was like a Swiss Army knife. He did a little
yep,
bit of everything. And
exactly.
they loved the fact that he, jumped in and out and around. Well, he just hasn't found a place here. He hasn't found a
Yeah.
spot. And it's not. I don't know if it's his fault or the coaching or what it is, but it hasn't worked out that way. And so you can go through almost. I did this the other day. I went through every player.
Yeah.
Where is he meeting expectations? Is he above expectations? Is he below expectations? And I think I counted 12 of the 20 players who would be regularly in the lineup of being
Yeah.
below expectations.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
I think that's being generous.
Yeah, it might be, but it's because you got guys like Cowan and Robertson that are playing better maybe than you thought they could, but they're
Yeah.
still not difference makers
Yeah.
yet.
No.
And so it's kind of to me Tavares and OEL are the only two guys
Yeah.
who are playing above expectations.
Yeah. And then they're in their mid-30s.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
Tavares has been, by the way, sensational. Like this,
yeah.
I've
He
never
really
seen
has.
I've never seen him play better than he. We've been watching him a long time. I've never seen him play better than he's playing this season. I don't know if that's the Olympic motivation or what it
Yeah.
is, but boy, he looks great. And Matthews didn't look great. Uh,
No,
n-
he did not.
when he was playing. He looked
Yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
he wasn't. You expect Austin Matthews to be, a top 5, top 7 player in the league,
Yeah.
and he was nowhere near that this year when he was playing. And Nyes was off to a good
Very
start.
good. Nyes was playing very well.
Yeah, so Nyes is one of those guys you just let be, just let him
Mhm.
be, and he's
Yeah.
okay. And William Nylander is, he's never going to change. He's high risk, high reward,
Yeah.
and absolutely wonderful theater and wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, he just turns away and doesn't look at a puck,
Yeah.
and it's
Hey,
in the other.
listen, he's a winger, Steve, and to me, like those are complementary pieces, and he's a really good one. He's a really good complementary piece, and if the other guys are doing their job, you're not gonna, he's gonna occasionally those things will they'll hurt you, but for the most part, he's gonna really help you because he can score, he can make things out of nothing. He's got great skill. Nothing seems to bother him. Big moments, he's ready to play, and so he is what he is,
Yeah,
no matter
and
what the circumstance. The team is playing bad this year, Steve, and he's still playing well, right?
yeah.
So like, he is what he is.
We forget sometimes this is the entertainment business.
Yeah,
You need people to entertain.
and he
And
does that.
William Nylander is one of the 5, 7 most entertaining players in the NHL.
Yeah,
Like he's right there with anybody. You know, McDavid's on his own level, and I think Celebrini's getting to his own level.
yeah,
But the kind of things that Willie pulls out of nowhere
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
it's just wonderful theater.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you pay to watch. He's fun to watch, and he scored the overtime goal. I think it was against St. Louis last
Yeah,
week, and just
that's
I mean, how many guys can make that play? Not very many. So, and then he plays to the crowd. So he's not the issue. He's
no.
not the
I
problem.
remember when they drafted him. Dave
Yeah.
Poulin was the assistant to Brian Burke at the time,
Mhm.
and I said, "What was it about Willie that sort of excited you?" And he said, "Because he was the only player in the draft. It turned out there was another one, but he said he was the only player in the draft who could stick handle in a phone booth."
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what he does.
Yeah.
And you were talking about, the whole group. That's a long time to be together.
Yeah.
Marner, Nylander, Matthews, all and Morgan Riley all did 9 seasons together.
Yeah.
This is the 10th one.
Yeah.
Like, this may be the sign that this is it. Like,
Yeah.
I thought there was, like, when Austin Matthews signed for 2 more years after this one, I thought, well, they have up until then they have some Stanley Cup window,
Yeah.
if you want to call it that. But I'm wondering now if that window is closing
Yeah.
earlier, and
Yeah.
because they don't have a lot of kids ready to come up in
No.
difference. They
And
have
like I said, Steve,
I think.
that's what I meant though when I said this was their maybe last year, even though we didn't realize it, maybe that was their last best chance.
Yeah.
And now it's gone the other way. These guys, even if they come back, guys are older. The schedule is going to be tough. It's going to be really hard to make the playoffs. So I'll finish with this. I'll ask you this. You're Brad Treliving. You're sitting here. We just talked about the situation they're in. What do you do?
I tank.
Mm-hmm.
I may not play Tanev another game this year. I may play Matthews only when he's healthy enough to play. You don't have a first round pick, but it's lottery protected.
Yeah.
So if you have a chance to get one of those kids at the top of the draft, then you can start the whole thing over again. And if you don't, I don't know what the alternative is.
Yeah.
There's no trades that can be made that make a difference. You don't have the ability to do that, and there just aren't those kind of players available.
Yeah. And even if they were, Steve, they don't have the assets to move anymore. They've traded away draft picks. I mean, I was looking at
There
their
are the draft
their
picks now.
picks.
There's no draft picks the
No
next
first this year, no first, no second, no fourth, no sixth, no seventh. I mean, they don't have a lot of picks. You're right. That first round pick is, I think it's top 5 protected or something
Yeah,
along
top
those
five.
lines. I mean, that would be disastrous for the Leafs to be bad and then have like the 7th pick in the draft go to the Boston Bruins. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that, probably.
Well, they're sitting as of today. I believe they're 5th last in the league.
Yeah. Yes.
I think
Correct.
there's the 4 teams in the West. They're last in the East.
Yeah. Yep.
If you pull the shoot on your team in however way you choose to, I mean, we saw a tank here once before, and that's how they got Matthews.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, you know
and
what, Steve? With their goalie situation, if Stolar just can't really come back or doesn't play well, and if Joseph Wall is, I mean, that might do it in itself because that's the way. To me, even the smart managers, if you want to tank, the only way to really ensure it is to submarine the goaltending. Because the players, the players want to win, the coaches want to win, everybody down at ice level, they want to win, they want to compete. They're not thinking about it. The only way as a manager you can jockey that is to submarine the goaltending.
I spend a lot of time in Florida over the winter, as you well know.
Yeah.
And one of the people in my complex is a guy by the name of Eddie Johnson.
Okay.
Eddie Johnston was the general manager
Yep.
of the Pittsburgh Penguins when they tanked for a guy named Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
And he pulled every possible stunt. I think they
Yeah.
beat New Jersey by like 1 point in the
Well,
end.
you know what happened is that Tommy McVie took over as coach of the Devils, and somebody forgot to tell him that his job was not to win games. And that's what I mean. The coaches, the players, they all want to win for the most part. If you're going into that mode, the manager only has a few tricks that he can really pull, and one of them is to get the goaltenders in bad shape.
Well, there's another factor in this, and that's that Shanahan is gone,
Yeah.
and there is no president of the hockey club. And Keith Pelly, the CEO of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, is essentially the president of the Leafs.
Yeah.
And what you don't know is what is he thinking about?
That's right. Yeah.
And if, say, for example, they tank, and he might decide at the end of the year, I don't want Treliving and I don't want Berube as my guys. I want these people.
Yeah.
And you look around the NHL right now. Look what Anaheim's doing with Joel Quenneville.
Yeah.
How big a factor is he in all that?
Yeah. He's a big factor, but they went through years of losing, right? And they have a lot of good young players.
You mentioned John Cooper earlier.
Yeah.
Like when you have there aren't a lot of elite coaches.
No.
There's a short list of elite coaches, and there's probably one available in Pete DeBoer. There aren't many what I would call elite coaches out there,
No.
and they make a difference. I think Craig Berube is a wonderful man. I think Treliving is wonderful. They're two of the nicest people you're ever going to come across.
Yeah.
Are they great GMs and coaches? That I'm not sure about.
Okay. Well, listen, I think we'll leave it there because we're going to find out more about them moving forward. We're going to find out more about this team.
Can I touch on one thing just before?
All right, go ahead.
They go five. I think they're on a 5-game road trip starting with their next game.
Yeah.
When they come home, in order they play Kucherov, Celebrini, Crosby, McDavid, and I can't remember who the fifth one is, but it's like
Yeah.
I think it might be Bedard.
Okay.
Like so it's like the best players of the best players are the best players against the defense that can't stop anyone. Not a good thing.
Not a good. That's not a good formula for success. But hey, I've said it from the start. I think this year is going to be a screwy year in this league. It's already playing out that way with the Olympics and the schedule, and there's all these injuries. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, it does not look good, but listen, we've been around long enough to know a lot of things, and one of them is who the hell knows what's going to happen. We're going to watch the games play out. Steve, thanks so much for the time today. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we get to do it again soon and figure out exactly where all this is going.
Anytime and on any subject.
All right, there it is. The great Steve Simmons of the Toronto Sun. EJ Hradek here. Thanks for watching the Toronto Sports Rush right here on the Bet Rivers Network.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.